Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in on a, beautiful Tuesday morning. Was last night beautiful? Actually, for the game of baseball, I thought it was a beautiful game. I thought there was lots of action. I thought that even in a 1-0 game, I thought there was a lot of intensity, a lot of drama. Of course, the Dodgers didn't win. That sucks. The Dodgers now are in second place in the NL West. That definitely sucks. And they're behind the Padres, who flipped the scoreboard on the NL West last night. And that really sucks, okay? So all of that is it really sucks. Let's put it to you that way, okay? But having said all that, I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the, just the competitive nature of the way it went down. And I'm going to be way different than a lot of people, even with the Padres, especially fans. I enjoy greatness. I enjoy watching somebody perform their craft at the highest level and to have such a level of skill that other people on earth just they can't do. So I'm going to say this very point blank, and Dodgers fans will probably be upset with what I'm saying here. In a really weird way, in my baseball brain way, I enjoyed watching the excellence of what Michael King was. Of course, it was frustrating. It was against my Dodgers, no doubt about that. But I enjoyed the excellence of which he was able to compete with, and then obviously just the incredibleness of Mason Miller and Adams was good. So having said that, let me kind of dive into what I mean by this is Michael King. He does a lot of things that really, I'm just going to tip my cap to Michael King and say, hey, yes, have the Dodgers been a great offense the last 2 to 3 weeks? Absolutely not. Shohei Ohtani had been hitting the ball well. Teo Hernandez had been hitting the ball well. Kyle Tucker had been hitting the ball well. A couple of nights ago, Mookie Betts hit a couple hard. Andy Pages has been consistent throughout the year. Your role players have been doing very well. Freddie Freeman, who even last night didn't hit the ball very well, he's the one who has been struggling. So the Dodgers have been, we talked about this, and especially last night with Coach Holt before the game, the Dodgers have been showing signs of breaking out. And I'm still saying that. I'm not going to change my opinion on that whatsoever. Last night doesn't change the way I think about, what's going on. It's one game. And the reason why I say that is Michael King was not good. Michael King was elite, okay? And then also what Michael King does is kryptonite for any offense, especially an offense like the Dodgers that likes to see the ball as deep as they can, that likes to lay off the borderline pitches, that likes to put a lot of pressure on the pitcher, and likes to draw walks in front of home runs. And so what I'm saying is what Michael King does is that he steals strikes with his slider. The slider, I'm telling you, I mentioned it on yesterday's show. You always want to talk about the sinker and with Michael King, the way that thing turns right. But the slider that he gets to turn, and then obviously the changeup, but the slider that he steals strikes with to the back door of lefties, that's to me a pitch that really neutralizes a guy like Freddie Freeman because it gets him ahead in the count. And Michael King, first of all, he threw first pitch strike with multiple pitches about 63% of the time. And with that sinker, what happens is so he had a couple of really high-level concepts going that even a guy, and if you listen to Freddie Freeman's postgame, he kind of clued you in on, but even a veteran that's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday like Freddie Freeman, who isn't a boomer bust type of offensive player, who relies on bat to ball and gathering hits, even a guy as great as Freddie Freeman with the approach that he has, if you listen to his press conference, we said, hey, when a guy has these kinds of concepts going and they're executing, even a guy like me, I'm not going to hit it. Nobody's going to hit it. You just kind of have to hope to make a couple mistakes. You walk a couple of guys and you run into one. So Michael King didn't do that. So the very complicated concepts he had going that he executed, that yesterday we mentioned is kryptonite for anybody, but especially the Dodgers, and it proved to be true again. Was he had the ball to strike concept, meaning the ball would come out of his hand looking like a ball, especially to lefties, 6 to 8 inches off the plate, And then so it would start a ball, and then it would break into the zone and be a strike. So you were having to decipher as a hitter, is this ball going to, as it starts off as a ball, is it going to land as a strike, especially early in the count? And so you're having to judge, should I swing at first a pitch that has a shape to it, like a breaking ball shape, and then should I do so knowing I have to wait so long to decipher if that ball out of hand is going to end up being a strike? Well, the Dodgers didn't offer. Michael King was able to win that cat and mouse battle. He was able to steal strikes with the slider on the backdoor ball to strike concepts, and because of that, he threw about 63% first pitch strikes. So that was one ball to strike concept. The other ball to strike concept that he was throwing, he would start a lefty, this is the Greg Maddux changeup thing, but at about 10 miles an hour because Michael King was about 94 last night. So think about the movement, maybe not quite as dramatic of the Greg Maddux changeup, but make that 94 miles an hour. So he did what I call hopped his sinker, meaning he'll start that sinker, the second ball to get the strike concept that he would have, meaning that the ball came out of his hand as a ball, and then the movement took it over the plate to end up being a strike. That's what I mean when I say ball to strike, is that he would start that thing on the inner half to lefties, outer half to righties, and it would come out of his hand as a ball, and then the movement of the pitch, the right turn of the pitch, the tail, whatever you want to call it, would move it back over the plate. And at 94 miles an hour, you're having to decipher, this pitch is off the plate when I'm making my swing decision. I have to make a decision with the ball off the plate. Is it going to make it back over the plate where it's hittable for me? Or if I swing at this, am I going to be chasing a ball that's not in the strike zone? So we have the two ball to strike concepts, the backdoor slider, then the sinker that hop back over the plate to the inside part of the plate to lefties, outside part of the plate to righties. And then he had the strike to ball concepts to where he could take the slider and he could make it look middle, and then he could break it off the plate and or the changeup where he would tunnel it off the fastball or the slider. It would come out of his hand as a strike. And as the Dodgers would see a strike out of the hand, again, you're having to make a swing decision. Is this thing going to hold its line well enough for me to hit the ball, first of all, or is it going to dive out of the zone? And the Dodgers guessed wrong on that late movement, okay? Then on top of that, okay, even if you do hit the ball, okay, how well are you going to hit it knowing that your swing decisions, first of all, are so difficult to make in those types of split-second decisions? So the way that Michael King uses ball to strike concepts, strike to ball concepts with late movement combined with a good little three-pitch mix, which allows him to master his execution, I can't be mad at the Dodgers offensive players. He just was absolutely awesome, okay? I mean, and again, he pitches for the Padres, okay? That sucks. He won a game for the Padres that flipped the scoreboard in the NL West. That sucks. But and again, the Dodgers did not score a run. That's terrible, okay? I'm not mad. I can't be mad. Just 5 hits on the night, right? And 10 strikeouts. Not good. You have twice as many strikeouts. Yeah, you had 5 walks, 5 hits. Twice as many strikeouts as you had walks. You had twice as many strikeouts as you had hits. I'm not mad. And again, I'm going to say it again. If I'm Dave Roberts, I'm not mad. If I'm Freddie Freeman, I'm not mad. If I'm Shohei Ohtani, I'm not mad. If I'm Max Muncy, I'm not. I'm just not, because if Michael King goes out and does what he did last night 100 times, what happened to the Dodgers is going to, maybe not zero, but it's going to happen almost every single time if he executes like that. So that's a long way of saying, that I like to get very descriptive with the way that I put things. Congratulations, Michael King. I tip my hat to you. You were amazing. Adams in relief was absolutely awesome. Okay, Adams in relief is, we're talking about a guy with a 1.15 ERA. And then Mason Miller, save number 15 on the year at 0.82 ERA. You felt like, okay, we got a couple of walks on him. Well, that's about the only chance you got, is if he just kind of gives you enough to where you can walk through a door, but then that door closed and he was able to close it out for his 15th save. And kind of so here's my overall evaluation on how the Dodgers did against the Padres pitching. And that is, tip your cap to Michael King. If you put yourself in a situation to where you're having to score a run against Adams or especially Mason Miller late in a game, as good as the Dodgers are coming from behind, and they always have been, okay, for a long time now, just not going to happen. Not going to happen at all, very often. And so, like I said, I mean, you can't be upset the Dodgers didn't score in the last 2 innings because, I mean, you can, but you just got to get in a position against the Padres to where you're not having to score against Adam or Miller to tie the game. If you're putting yourself in that position, you are going to lose a lot more times than you win. So I'm just going to say this wasn't necessarily poor offense from the Dodgers. This isn't anything that breaks the trend for me, that the offense still is trending up, or at least it has been. This, to me, was a one-off created by just a great performance by 3 professional pitchers that did everything that they were supposed to on their game plan and executed. And let me say this, and I know Dodgers fans, and this will probably frustrate Dodgers fans too, and we talk all the time on Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network of how, yes, the Dodgers buy Shohei Ohtani, they buy Tyler, well, they didn't buy Tyler Glass now, but they buy Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, all these guys, okay? Tanner Scott. So, yes, Kyle Tucker. The Dodgers have more money, or as much money as anybody in the game, to go buy free agents. That's hey, great. That's what you're doing. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, what if you've got the money? What you owe it to your fans to be as aggressive as you can to get the best roster. Okay, there is no apologizing for that. That's dumb for people in the game to even think the Dodgers are doing anything wrong there. But to say that, I'm also saying that organizations like the Padres, they can't build a roster like that. They can't afford every year to go get free agents like Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They can't afford every year to keep up with the Joneses in the free agency market. So the only way, I mean, they can get some, but they can't do it every year, year after year after year after year, and then target the best and most valuable and most expensive free agents every single year like the Dodgers can. Okay, that's a fact. That's not a knock on the Dodgers. That's not trying to knock down anything that they've done. That just, in my opinion, is a fact. So that doesn't mean the Padres can't compete, though. That doesn't mean that they can't get great to elite players, but it does mean they're probably going to have to do it through the trade market. So to get a Mason Miller, you had to give up Leo DeVries, who was the Padres' number 1 prospect. He was with Fort Wayne at the time. He was the number 3 prospect in all of minor league baseball. That is a huge prospect haul there in and of itself. Then the Padres also had to give up their number 3 prospect in their entire organization, which was a pitcher, and then they had to give up a top 20 prospect that had major league experience. So I know Dodgers fans like to think, man, that's a big haul, that's this or that, and it is. But it's also, if you're the Padres, it's the only way you're going to get Mason Miller, and then probably oversign for a longer contract than what other, the Dodgers are able to offer so much money and such a great culture and such winning that you not only get Teo, you get him at the right length. You not only get Edwin Diaz, you get him at the right length. You not only get Kyle Tucker, you get him at the right length. You get Shohei Ohtani to defer money. You get your cake and eat it too. So the Padres can get guys like that, but they have to give back. So they gave up Leo DeVries. They gave up their number 3 prospect in their entire system, which was a pitcher, a guy that's a top 20 pitcher that had major league experience. And I'm here to say, good for them. Hey, I know Dodgers fans are like, that's too much. I would never. to get Mason Miller? I do every single time. And the way that I kind of view that is prospects are like money. You can make more money. The Dodgers or whoever it may be, and we're seeing this with the Padres, you can trade to get new. I mean, just look at the Dodgers system right now. Adam Sierwanowski, who's not having a great year, but the Dodgers traded for him. Zaire Hope, the Dodgers traded for him. Jackson Ferris, the Dodgers traded for him. So, I mean, you can use the pieces that you have to trade to refill your farm system. And then also you can draft and develop. So what the Padres have to do is that they have to draft wisely, they have to develop, and then they have two choices. Do we want Leo DeVries to be a starter every day, or do we want Mason Miller? And I will never, ever, ever knock an organization that wants to go get Mason Miller, okay? You're not talking about going and getting some just dude. You're talking about going and getting a guy that is the best closer in the game. Yes, the best closer in the game with an 0.82 ERA that closes the door against the Dodgers and gets the hardest three outs, the last three outs, and gets you across the finish line to winning games, okay? I will never, ever knock the Padres for doing that, even though they gave up a big prospect haul. So for that, hey, this is fun for me, okay? And I know you're going, what is that fat sumbitch talking about? I like it when the Padres are good. I like it when the Padres are competitive. It's to me, watching the Giants, and I know the Giants beat the Dodgers the first two games, but to me, like last night, this was all about the Padres and what the top Padres pitching did. The first two games against the Giants, and if you go back to our shows, we had the two probably most negative shows back-to-back that we've ever had, because I felt like that was all about what the Dodgers weren't doing, versus last night I felt like this is what the Padres did do. So I like it. It's frustrating to me in a sense that the Giants can't push the Dodgers much at all, because I think the Dodgers have a tendency, especially guys like Teo, they have so much experience. They've won so many games. It's a little bit older. I think the Dodgers, we talk about this, they have the tendency to get into big picture mode. They kind of go into cruise control mode, and the next thing you know, you're just kind of on cruise control from one day to the next. And I don't think that's necessarily a great thing for anybody, okay? So when the Padres can come in and, again, I'm going to say it, I just beat the Dodgers, okay, with what they did, I think that's a pretty good wake-up call. You show up today, you're facing a guy in San Diego that has an over 10 ERA. Now, I'll say this. If the Dodgers don't score tonight, okay, I will have an entirely different tone tomorrow, because the Padres are sending to the mound tonight Griffin Canning, ERA of 10.64. This is going to be an entirely different enchilada tonight than what the Dodgers faced last night with Michael King, Adam, and Mason Miller. So it'll be interesting to see how the Padres go with their bullpen work. But the bottom line is you got to get to Canning early. You got to get a good lead. You got to go back to showing all the signs that you had been showing in the recent stretch of games, to where Kyle Tucker had been playing better, Teo had been playing better, Shohei had been playing better, Mookie hit a couple of hard hit balls, Alex Call, Miguel Rojas had been doing well, Andy Pages has just been steady Eddie. I want to see that team again tonight. I think we will see that team again tonight, and I know you guys are going, man, you're way too damn happy for a morning after watching the Dodgers get beat by the Padres. I get that. I will not have that tone tomorrow if we're in the same situation and the Padres have a 2-0 lead. A matter of fact, I probably won't be satisfied tonight unless the Dodgers go out and, I think, take control of this game right off the start. Emmett Sheehan is throwing the ball as well as he had. I get it that from an overall perspective, his first pitch strike throwing hasn't been maybe as good as it has in the past, but I'll say this, and I don't have any data to back that up with. I think that's because he's trying to incorporate more pitches into his first. He's trying to steal strikes with more multiple pitches than he has in the past. And I think that's a growth opportunity for him. He's been really good as of late. The Padres have not been hitting. The Dodgers can ambush Griffin Canning, and this could be, if the Dodgers go out and play well, this could be a game that the Dodgers handle fairly easily. Now, having said that, does anything ever go to plan in the game of baseball like you expect it to? Obviously not. Not whatsoever. So I say that with the caveat of nothing ever goes as planned. So the Dino Ebel situation with Hyesung Kim, let's back up. Before we actually get into that, let's actually read some comments here. Al Minerva, thank you so much for joining today. King was money, no doubt about that. Yamamoto, the splitter in the first. Yamamoto was fantastic. We talked about just no run support. Yamamoto is awesome. Hey, he hung a splitter, okay? That's the thing about a splitter, and it used to be his curveball, is that when he hangs it, it just turns into basically a BP fastball, and that's what he gave up last night, and he didn't get away with it. And in the first inning, little did anybody know that was all the offense we were going to see all night long. I mean, that's incredible. So, hey, awesome job, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I mean, we just can't score when you pitch. Sorry. I mean, other than that, I don't know. I mean, like if I was Yoshi's dad, or if I was his former high school coach, or if I was, his handler or Dave Roberts or who, I mean, literally all I could tell him was put my arm around him and say, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you, brother. I mean, I really appreciate how great you've been. And I know how hard it is to pitch when your team's not scoring because you feel like there's a runner at third base and one out, and it's the winning run at third base, and you're having to pitch in that type of crisis mentality the entire time you're out there. And I know how hard that is. I know how stressful that is. And I know for the most part, and it hasn't been perfect, but I also know for the most part just how awesome you've handled that type of pressure that the lack of scoring that you've been given has put on you. So for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, fantastic job, young man. Could not ask for, well, we could ask for more. We could ask him for a shutout, I guess. But if he did throw a shutout, we'd probably still be playing. If Michael King and Adam and Mason Miller continue to pitch like that, then the Dodgers weren't going to score forever, right? But I kid only to say that Yamamoto is fantastic. And by the way, before we get into the comments, and then we're going to get into the decision from Dino Ebel to hold up Hyesung Kim, I'm telling you, going to say it again, okay? Kyle Hurt, I know Dave Roberts, and I like this part of him. I like the fact that he's slow moving and putting guys into his trust tree, even slower moving them up to the trust tree, and even slowest moving at putting them to the top of the trust tree, okay? Bypass it all for Kyle Hurt. Now, does that mean it'll always be perfect? And the first time he gives up a couple of runs, Dodgers fans, I'm sure, will howl, oh, Martin, whatever, like all fans do. I don't mean Dodgers fans. I mean all fans. Now, I will probably be leading the charge of it, but I'm telling you, bypass that that process. Put Kyle Hurt at the top of the trust tree. Let's let it go. Let's let him do his thing, and let's let him be Edwin Diaz, okay? And he's been Edwin Diaz to this point. Tanner Scott's been fantastic. So the Dodgers, very disappointing that Jack Dreyer's hurt right now. So like I always say, hey, man, you lose Edwin Diaz, next man up. That gives a guy like Kyle Hurt an opportunity to come and show what he can do. So super excited for Kyle Hurt. Not surprised whatsoever that he needed just 9 pitches to get through his inning. And, of course, the stolen base, Tatis getting thrown out, that helped. Will Smith is very good. Will Smith continually has, I think he throws out around 30% of his base runners, which is well above league average. So that helped too. But Kyle Hurt, bypass the whole process, put him at the top of the trust tree. Hey, Victor Banos, 3619. Hi, Coach. I agree with you. Great old school ball game. Great pitching. It was October baseball in May. Hope our Dodgers turn the table today. What do you think about Dino Ebel decision? I will get to him here in a minute. I think, at Dodgers Dogs, I don't hold back. I don't throw people under the bus, but if I have a disagreement, I definitely don't hide from it, and I'll give you my honest to goodness opinion on that here in just a minute whenever I get through all of these comments. And yes, Honey Oats is frustrated with Mookie. Mookie did get a hit last night. He hit a couple of balls hard the other day. Honey Oats is saying Alex Freeland better than Mookie Betts. Not ever going to happen. Just get over the Mookie Betts thing. Let's hope that he produces. First of all, you have him for a long time. Second of all, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And third of all, the last thing that you're ever going to do is DFA Mookie Betts. Okay? So I understand that you're frustrated, and I love you, Honey Oats, and you're just an absolutely awesome Dodgers fan. But that narrative, really, it's nothing more than just we're venting frustration. There's no reality to it whatsoever. And by the way, Alex Freeland hasn't shown at the major league level in any way, shape, or form that he's better than anybody. And we'll get it. I covered him on the Dodgers Dogs today. So I love you. But the Mookie Betts narrative, hey, I've said I don't think the poolside air, the fly ball thing to the poolside for Mookie Betts. Okay, so here's that maybe have been in the past when he was at his prime, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to be in his future, okay? So I think you need to formulate a game plan for what Mookie Betts can do right now and not what he's done in the past. And, hey, hopefully I get proven wrong, but I just think that line drive type of mentality, flatten the swing, get over the baseball, use the big part of the field. Hey, Oral Hershiser knows 1,000% more baseball than I do, and he's 100% correct whenever he brings up that Mookie Betts has always been the best when he's hitting pull-side fly balls. That's not an opinion, that's fact. But my counter to that is, that doesn't mean that's what he's going to be the best at moving forward with the version of what he is right now, okay? And I'm not trying to say, whenever you say that, hey, quit hitting pull-side fly balls, the automatic response to that is, well, he just wants him to hit duck farts to right field. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I mean, okay? Freddie Freeman doesn't hit duck farts to left center. Shohei Ohtani doesn't hit duck farts to left center, okay? I'm not asking Mookie Betts to go up there and lower and reduce his swing and not have any kind of bat speed and become defensive and just try to hit ground balls at the second baseman. That's not what I'm saying. What I think Mookie Betts can do at this stage in his career to create the best version of what he can be right now is I think Mookie Betts can hit 1,000,000 doubles into the right center field gap. I think from a bat speed perspective, I think he can flatten his swing a little bit. I don't think at this stage in his career will he ever completely flatten his swing. No. So I think you adjust. So the way you compensate for that is you back the timing up a little bit. So that's kind of, at least that's my philosophy. You get guys that you say, okay, let's use the opposite field gap. Well, a lot of coaches will go and they'll tinker with a swing. They'll try to make a swing adjustment. And I just don't think that, especially in the middle of a season, I think that probably most times does more damage than it does good. Keep your same swing, but just back it up in your timing a little bit to where you're a little later and then hit the ball to right center, okay? Because when Mookie pulls the ball, he has a tendency to lift at the front more than most people. That's when he rolls over the baseball. And the reward to that is what right now? How many home runs is he going to hit versus how many fly balls is he going to hit that doesn't leave the yard? And he already hits fewer home runs for fly balls than the league average anyway. So I just think the line drive approach into the right center field gap, I think that's something that Mookie Betts could be elite at right now. And I don't know if he's willing to concede to that, but we'll see how that goes. We'll just see where that plays out. So that got me off onto a Mookie Betts spiel. Love Mookie. Fantastic player. Whatever he sets his mind to, he always reaches that goal. I just and who am I to say, but I'm on a podcast, and so I'm giving my opinion. I just think and one of the hardest things I think it is for the greats like Mookie Betts is to recalibrate and redefine who and what you are and what you can be. And I think he's definitely at a stage in his career where he needs to recalibrate and self-reflect and think, Am I the Mookie of old, or do I need to redefine? I can still be great. You know, how many pitchers over time were power pitchers, and they're like, you know what? I'm 42 years old, probably not a power pitcher anymore. Let's be more of a crafty. Clayton Kershaw is the perfect case scenario. If Clayton Kershaw can recalibrate and make himself great again, so can Mookie Betts. So that will end my spiel today on Mookie. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But if you can't tell, his approach at the plate frustrates me for a guy in his situation. I just don't think he's getting all the meat off the bone in terms of what he is capable of doing right now at this moment. But I said I'll end it just a second ago, and I didn't. I'll say this. I've been wrong in my life way more times than I've been right, and I know whenever I have any kind of, I don't quite agree with that, in anything the Dodgers are doing, I am batting about 5% in those situations, and the Dodgers are batting about 95%. So take all of that with that grain of salt. Pee-wee, 83, you paid Tucker $60 million to make a difference, not just to blend in. I do agree with that. We've had that conversation before. Not just to blend in, but I will say Kyle Tucker has been one of the better So part of it looks like you're blending in when you're just kind of really good at a lot of different things. And part of that is getting on base, but not one single thing sticks out. Or here's another part of it seems like he's blending in more than he is making a difference. It feels like he hasn't gone on that ridiculous streak that sticks out like a sore thumb to where he just has taken over the offense and won games by himself. He just has become consistently good. So I guess that's a matter of personal preference. Is consistently good blending in? Or is that making the difference that we paid Kyle Tucker to make? I would disagree, though, with saying that he's doing the bare minimum. I think he's playing consistently good offense. Now, is that the impact that you wanted from Kyle Tucker? I think that's an entirely different conversation to be had. But I really don't have any criticisms for Tucker at this moment. Although I think if you want to have the opinion that he's not quite like Pee-wee here, I'm not disagreeing with the overall sentiment. I just think it's a little bit too strong. I think if you want to have the sentiment that he's not quite doing exactly what you wanted him to in terms of making impact, I don't think I would have an issue with that. But I will defend him and say he has been consistently good. And I don't know that that's blending in. I think he's been pretty good. So Aroldis Chapman is probably available. Skubal is needed now since Snell is out. Yeah, lots of guys need to step up. Don't forget, Al, you have River Ryan coming up, and I think Kyle Hurt can play a really big role at the back end of the pen. And there's really, we went over it yesterday for a little bit when my microphone was on mute. There's not really a whole lot left at Oklahoma City that we haven't seen. I mean, you have the Jake Eaters, you have the Keenan Middletons. Garrett McDaniels would probably be at the top of my list. Ronan Kopp has struggled. So this is why you're seeing the Dodgers go out and get all these kind of quad ace back end type depth pieces pitching wise, is because you don't have the up and coming fiery young guys like you had 3 or 4 years ago, like the Bobby Millers, the Ben Kaspariuses, the Kyle Hurts. He's already in the major leagues. The Emmett Sheehan's, the Gavin Stones, the Landon Knacks. You don't have that entire crew that you had forever coming up. You're really kind of left with a bunch of quad A guys in AAA Oklahoma City that aren't going to move the needle. If they were needle movers, would they really be in Oklahoma City right now? I don't mean that to throw anybody under the bus. I mean that to make that exact statement. If Keenan Middleton, who hopefully I get to interview sometime this week, good pitcher, hey man, congratulations, great pro career. But if he was a needle mover, would he really be in Oklahoma City right now? Or Antoine Kelly or Jake Eater or any of those guys, right? So kind of I don't mean that as a criticism of those guys or to throw them under the bus. I just mean that to say you don't have that, let's bring that guy up like we've had in the past with some of the arms. So that's probably one of the biggest concerns that I have is just the depth that I don't think you have quite as much pitching depth as you have had in the past. And I promise you we'll get to the Dino Ebel decision here in a moment. Hey, Pee-wee, I love Freddie, but he looked old at times. I would totally agree with that. 100%. And also keep in mind, Pee-wee, he's been injured. Okay, that takes a toll on you. And baseball's hard. I mean, he has not looked good. He's batting right around 100 in his last 8 or 9 games. He's never had a streak this year to where he's looked like Freddie Freeman. I think it's fair to say, from an overall perspective, he's looked old. I'm sure he will do well during his remainder of current contract, but I will not extend him beyond next year. Nobody can defeat Father Time. That's a hard statement. Let me read this again. I love Freddie, but he looked old at times. I'm sure he will do well during his remainder of current contract, but I will not extend him beyond next year. Nobody can defeat Father Time. That's a really, 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 let's get to the point. Let's not beat around the bush. Really tough comment to make. To be honest with you, one that I really can't push back on. And if Freddie Freeman listens to this, or his wife Chelsea, which I think maybe she has, possibly. I know she's interacted with a couple of my posts on social media, but I highly doubt it. I hope you understand that's not throwing anybody under the bus. That's just stating things the way that we see them, and then also stating facts about Father Time, that Freddie Freeman is getting older. He's played so many baseball games that other players haven't had to, with the playoffs, with the Braves, all the playoff games with the Dodgers. He's had to deal with injuries. It's not a criticism to say that he looks old, because he should, or at times he looks old, because he should. This guy has been a warrior for a long time. Let's see if he can hit that streak that raises maybe some of his energy and gets him back up there to the way that because, man, if he doesn't start hitting, this offense has kind of doesn't have that bridge in the middle of it. Honey Oates Smith has been mediocre. Yes, rushing, needs more playing time. I'm not going to push back against that. See, this is a good mix of tough but not negative. That's the kind of conversation I like. Those are the conversations I always like to have with the coaches that I coached with. That's why I always say let's have the tough conversation. There's a huge difference between having a tough conversation and having a negative conversation, correct? So just being negative about, hey, well, he sucks, or he sucks, or she sucks, and this sucks, and that's just negativity. There's a huge difference between that and having a tough conversation. So far, what I've read here is absolutely an elite balance with these comments of the difference between having a tough conversation and a negative conversation. I think so far the comments have been tough. They have not been negative. Lifted 23, can this fan base give Mookie some time? Jesus Man has dealt with terrible luck over the last 2 years. No doubt about it. I don't disagree with you whatsoever. 100%, that's a great comment to make. However, my frustration with Mookie Betts, whatever frustration I have, which is very little, doesn't have to do with results. I think he's still trying to be the Mookie Betts from 5 years ago, and I just don't think that he's capable of that. I think he's at the point to where he has to, from an ego perspective, like Clayton Kershaw did, recalibrate what the Mookie Betts of the future can do and can be to continue to be a Hall of Fame type of player. Totally agree, Lifted, that you got to give him time, but I think also there's some adjustments that need to be made. Mookie has been a below average offensive player the last 2 seasons. That's not an opinion. I think that's fact, right? So, I mean, you got to face facts. Okay, Sonic, if you want, Padres didn't do much better. They lucked out with a solo home run. Yeah, I mean, the splitter was hung and it was hit. That was on Yamamoto, although Yamamoto was absolutely dynamite, fantastic. Anybody who's upset or frustrated or anybody who's anything other than super proud and super happy and appreciative of what Yamamoto did last night and this year just isn't realistic, in my opinion. I'm just not going to listen to any criticism whatsoever of Yamamoto. And to be honest with you, I haven't heard any. I'm making that whole narrative up because I have heard absolutely none. Dino holds up the runners. We'll get into that here in a minute. Les Fakingo. Brazucal, thank you so much for joining. The Dodgers had a few opportunities, but it wasn't their night. No one culprit. Sometimes you just don't win. Again, tip your cap to Michael King. Tip your cap to Adam. Tip your cap to Mason Miller. Tip your cap to the Padres for being aggressive enough to give up Leo DeVries, the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, the number 3 prospect in their system, and then another pitcher that had major league experience to get Mason Miller. Credit to them. Tip your cap to them. Lifted 23 after Dino didn't send Kim. Looked like Mookie tried to shoot a single up the middle, but he got under it for a pop fly. That's what I'm talking about. That lift, stay over the ball. Got to flatten the path of your hands. Turn the barrel down to the ball. Don't swing down at the ball. That's the misnomer. You don't swing down at the ball. You don't chop wood. You have a flat path with your hands, but then you do turn the barrel down to the ball. You turn the barrel down to the ball, and then in the front, the natural path of any swing, like a hula hoop, you come back up, and then you make that arc, okay? Mookie Betts, to me, is lifting on the backside of it too soon. He needs to flatten the path of his hands, turn the barrel down to the ball, and at the same time while you do that, when I say stay above the ball, okay, keep your upper torso in your hands above the baseball where you can turn the barrel down. Matt, you turn the barrel to the same degree that the pitch is coming down at. So if a fastball, say, is coming down at 19 degrees, you want to turn the barrel to 19 degrees with a flat path. That gives you the perfect launch angle off the bat. That's the process to me that Mookie Betts needs to conquer. To me, he's not coming up and lifting at the front. He's starting to lift too far back in his swing, and that's creating either rollovers or it's creating pop-ups to the opposite field. That's where my frustration with Mookie Betts is coming. Again, not from the results. It's the process of the type of swing that he is trying to incorporate. And he's doing that because he's trying to hit pull side fly balls, which, again, he's hitting a lower than league average rate of home runs per fly ball. So that's where I'm at on him. If you want to get into that conversation or argument or whatever, hey, we can go back and forth with that, but that's where I'm at. Hey, Honey Oats, Braves, Yankees, Padres, and Cubs look really good this year. It's going to be a tougher road to a title than the past 2 seasons, and there's a reason why no team has won back-to-back and however long, right? There was a reason why nobody even went back-to-back in 25 years, since the Yankees of the Derek Jeter days in the early 2000s. It's really hard to do, for one. So kind of a lot of times the team that goes into the halftime locker room that's losing, they have the advantage a lot of times. And the reason is, if you go into the halftime locker room and you're winning, the conversation is, hey, man, let's just do the same thing. Let's just keep it right where we're at. Let's just continue to do the same things we've been doing. Whereas the team that's losing, they're the ones making all the adjustments. So while the team like the Dodgers are winning championships, yes, they're adding pieces, no doubt. They added Edwin Diaz, Kyle Tucker. But other teams around them they're making all their halftime adjustments to specifically try to catch the Dodgers. And so every year that you win a World Series, every offseason, every team that's capable, and every team in the major leagues to whatever extent that they're capable of doing, they gear their adjustments in the offseason to catching the Dodgers. So every year you win a World Series, the other teams try to close that gap, and at some point they get it done, okay? As your players digress or whatever, you don't have as many or whatever, that's why it becomes harder and harder and harder to win one as you go on. It would be a just massively incredible feat for the Dodgers to go back to back to back. It would be anything. Hey, I know, I get it. This Dodgers organization lives and dies by, if we don't win a World Series, it's not a successful season. I don't disagree with that, but I'm going to tell you, if you have the idea that if the Dodgers don't go back to back to back, it's disappointing. Yeah, it'll be a disappointing moment. You didn't win. You watched your team lose. You weren't the last team standing. That's disappointing. But you're not, and you're not realistic if you're literally going to say this was a disappointing season if the Dodgers don't go back to back to back, knowing how hard it is and knowing how rare of a feat that actually is. So what the Dodgers are trying to do is they're trying to defeat the odds, even with a roster as expensive as the Dodgers, by infinite times over. So just understand, those are the odds against the Dodgers, even though we expect them to be the best team in baseball, and they do have the best roster, okay? Pee Wee. And then there's Glasnow and Snell, seem to be hurt every year, no doubt. And I was totally wrong on Glasnow. I just thought this was the year where Glasnow would get over that hurdle being hurt, and I was absolutely wrong. I was hoping they can give Yama a break since he has pitched so much, but with Glasnow and Snell both in the aisle, they can't. Betts needs to bat 5th or 6th. I want him in the leadoff spot. I mentioned I went over this along. I just want him, Mookie, get on base. Quality of bats. Define what a quality of bat is. 7 pitches or more. Any at bat you get on base. Moving a runner to third base with less than 2 outs. Any sacrifice. All of those. Hard contact, 95 miles an hour over. Quality of bats. I don't care what your batting average is. Let's put you in the leadoff spot. Let's get your on-base percentage in the high 3s, and let's have quality at bats. To hell with the batting average. To hell with trying to hit fly balls. Man, his swing looked violent before his oblique this year. He looks timid since he came back. Yeah, today the Dodgers feast. I think you're right there, Brazucal. I think against Griffin Canning. I'm going to say it again. If the Dodgers don't feast tonight off of Griffin Canning, I will have a totally different tone tomorrow. My tone today, again, is I am not frustrated, upset, anything with what the Dodgers did last night. I am tipping my cap at all turns to Michael King, Adam, and Mason Miller. Tipping my cap. Okay? And thanking Yoshinobu Yamamoto, although he hung the 1 splitter. Lifted 28. Tucker has been great. If you ignore the price tag, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I think that's the most perfect way to put it, is that Tucker actually has been great if you ignore the price tag. That is a absolutely perfect way to put it. That is well done there, Lifted. Hey, Mookie and Freddie need to start hitting the ball better, no doubt about it. I am so down on Diaz. You don't abuse animals for your own entertainment. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of that. I do have my own opinions. Not going to give it here. I don't think that would be appropriate of me. This is a Dodgers channel. This is a sports channel. I hate it when sports figures try to bring in personal or politics. This isn't necessarily politics, but personal beliefs. Okay. So despite my beliefs, I won't get into them, and I would kind of prefer not to get into personal beliefs with that. Let's just stick to the news of it as to whether or not he will be suspended or what comes of that. Pee Wee, I really want to keep all the young pitchers like Sheehan, Robo, River, Ryan instead of paying big bucks for Skubal. What if he gets hurt like Snell and Glass? Now, does Skubal have a different procedure than Edwin Diaz? Skubal already ready to throw a bullpen. I don't have any answers to that. Do the Pods have a worse offense than the Giants? Man, I think they have more potential, but their offense has been bad. Yeah. And again, here's Brazucal. This is such a smart chat. Tucker has been good, and it's not my money. That is a great way to put Kyle Tucker. Great perspective on that. Honey Oats. People are in denial with Mookie. He's never going to be the same offensive player ever again. That's what I'm saying. So it's time to recalibrate. Now, Honey Oats, do I think he can still be maybe even a Hall of Fame caliber type offensive player? That's where you and I are going to disagree. I absolutely think he can, but I don't think it's going to be in doing things the same way he always has. I think he has to recalibrate like Clayton Kershaw did and reinvent a new Mookie Betts based on what he is capable of doing right now. We don't need Mookie hitting pull-side fly balls. He's not that guy anymore. We have enough power bats. Jeff Roll, bingo, 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 bingo. Mookie, redefine yourself. That's just where I'm at. Pee Wee 83. We all appreciate what Mookie has done, but he's not second hole in this lineup. The way he's hitting, I would put him in the leadoff, and I've explained why. Hey, Al, tons of respect for Betts, but he hasn't been the same ever since his mystery illness, and he lost his strength. And I'm going to say it, since they put the workload of playing shortstop on him as well. Mookie was key in winning 20. He changed the culture. Oh, no doubt, in 2020, 100%. There is no way Dodgers fans should have anything other than love, appreciation for Mookie, and to the point to where I'm not trying to criticize Mookie. I'm not trying to show anything other than, hey, we want to continue seeing you be a Hall of Fame type of player. And how does that happen moving forward? So I've been rambling on and on and on. I still have not got into the Dino Ebel talk. And I'm going to say this very clearly, okay? Dino Ebel should have sent Ha-Seong Kim, and there is no argument against that, okay? No argument against that. None. Zero. Nada. Zilch. He should have sent Ha-Seong Kim, and second of all, that's the results, the process piece of it. My opinion, what happens with the third base coach is you get down the line so you can, like if a ball's hit to the outfield, you get all the way down the line so you can see if a guy bobbles the ball or not. So I think one of the things where I'm most frustrated, I think personally, and he may disagree with this, but I love Dino. I think he's the best third base coach in the game. Again, not throwing him under the bus. We're talking about this individual situation that I happen to disagree with, and I'm going to preface it by saying I have made all these mistakes at a pissant level a million times, and Dino Ebel is better than I could have ever thought about being. So again, this is not a criticism of Dino Ebel. This is not throwing him under the bus. This is simply evaluating this one in particular situation. I would have preferred to have Dino Ebel 3/4 down the line towards home plate, so then he could have been more out in front of Ha-Seong Kim and given himself more time to make the decision to see if Fernando Tatis Jr. was going to field the ball cleanly, where he was at, and this and that. So first of all, I would have liked to have seen Dino Ebel further down the line to give the whole situation more time to play out. And I think if that would have happened in and of itself, I think the correct decision would have been made. Second of all, there is the number one reason why Ha-Seong Kim is on the Major League roster and Alex Freeland isn't, okay? Well, other than the fact that I think he outperformed him. But from a tools perspective, not a results perspective, from a tools perspective, the number one reason why Ha-Seong Kim is on the roster instead of Alex Freeland is so his speed can change games. So why, if you have him on the roster so his speed can change games, because that's something that nobody else on your team can do, at least to his level, then when he has a chance to change a game with his speed, then you have to allow him to have the opportunity to do that. So from that position alone, if you just tell yourself, Ha-Seong Kim, from a tool perspective, is here to change games with his speed, I have an opportunity to let him change this game with his speed, just overall, you send. Third of all, okay, Mookie Betts is behind that. Mookie Betts is hitting a little over 200. He had close to an 80% chance of getting out. There is a much higher chance of 20% than 20% that Fernando Tatis Jr. doesn't handle that play properly. It probably would have taken a perfect throw. There is a much better than 20% chance that the Padres mess that play up, or at least don't execute the play well enough for Ha-Seong Kim to score. So the odds would say there's a better chance of Ha-Seong Kim scoring by the Padres not being perfect than the next guy, Mookie Betts, getting a hit. The odds would say you have a better chance of scoring with Ha-Seong Kim going home. And then I'll say this, I think if that's just a normal play to where Dino Ebel is reading an outfielder, it's a base hit to the outfield, I think it's an easy send, because I think in his mind he tells himself, hey, it's 2 outs. Ha-Seong Kim is running. There's no doubt with 2 outs. I'm sending Ha-Seong Kim. There's no question to this. And so that's what I'm going to do. I think there wouldn't have even been a decision to make. He would have sent Kim in that normal situation. But because it was such an oddball scenario, I think Dino got caught up in the action. He didn't play through. Well, if I have a ball thrown away behind the first baseman on a swinging bunt, and I have a chance to send Ha-Seong Kim from first to home, what am I going to do in that situation? Who in the hell would play that through their head before a play like that? He wasn't afforded the opportunity to play all of that in his head before the action started. And so because of that, there wasn't a pre-designed plan. If this happens, this is what I'm going to do. So I think he got caught up in the moment instead of sticking with the typical plan of send with 2 outs, definitely if it's Ha-Seong Kim. So he got caught up in the moment. He got reactionary, and therefore he held him up. And I'm just there's nobody that can convince me that he shouldn't have sent him. I'm not mad at Dino. I've done it a million times. I can see exactly what happened. But I'm just going to go ahead and say that he should have sent him. And if he did, I think Ha-Seong Kim would have been safe. Again, not throwing under the bus, not to repeat criticism. Those are my reasons why I think it did happen. I totally understand it. I get it. Not mad, not frustrated, not any of that. Dino is the absolute best. We love Dino. I wouldn't want anybody else. And I love you, Dodgers dogs. I got to go. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had a wonderful show last night with Coach Holt. We had a wonderful show today. If you haven't done it, go check out my Down on the Farm I released this morning. We got that in. A lot of great action. James Shiz, a third, Kike, all of that's on there. So go check out the Down on the Farm. So until next time, which will be tomorrow whenever we talk about a wonderful Dodgers win as they have pounded Griffin Canning tonight, which they should, ERA over 10. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, just remember, it's a great day to be a Dodger.